Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Two-Footed Podcast here on EPL Index. Now, before we kick things off today, I just want to share something with everybody. This episode is brought to you by our partners at Sky Bet. We've teamed up with Sky Bet because they truly understand what it means to be a fan. Sky Bet appreciates the length that people go through to support their team in all areas, whether you're a match-going fan or otherwise, and there's just no better fit for us right now than a partnership with the good folks at Sky Bet. So with that said, let's go. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Friday. It is November the 1st. And a weather update. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's a bit overcast, but it's not too bad. November 1st, though, that is utterly ridiculous. This year has just disappeared, seemingly without anybody noticing. Today's episode, as you will have heard before the show began, is brought to you by Sky Bet, and therefore we will start with a look at this weekend in the EFL Championship. Now, of course, no League One or League Two this weekend because the first round proper of the FA Cup takes place this weekend. So make sure you're giving that some attention. But into the Championship we go. And the first game of the weekend is tonight. It is Luton at home to West Bromwich Albion. Luton are 22nd, 3 defeats, 1 win and 1 draw in their last 5. West Brom are 5th, but they haven't won in their last 5. 4 draws and 1 defeat. An opportunity for Luton because West Brom are not in good form, but Luton themselves have had a disastrous start to the campaign. So West Brom likely feel confident they can go there and get a good result. Tomorrow at 12:30, we have 3 games. The first of which is Stoke City home to Derby County. Stoke in 12th, Stoke in 19th, Derby in 12th. Only 3 points separating them, though, so nothing really to choose between them. A win for Stoke brings them level on points. They'd likely only be behind on goal difference. I don't see a 4-goal swing here. So it is quite tight in the Championship as we speak. Only 7 points between Norwich in 8th and Luton in 22nd. So lots can change over the coming weeks. Oxford against Swansea City. Oxford are in 14th. Swansea are in 17th. Only 1 point separates them. Neither team have won in their last 5 games. It's 3 defeats, 2 draws for Swansea, 4 draws and 1 defeat for Oxford. On next to the final 12:30 kickoff, probably the best of the lot. Blackburn Rovers against Sheffield United. Both teams currently in the playoff spots. Sheffield United, 3 wins and 2 defeats in the last 5. Blackburn, only 1 win, 3 defeats and a draw. So not ideal form. But they are at home. I think they will fancy that one. On to the 3 p.m. kickoffs. We begin with Leeds against Plymouth. Leeds are 3rd in the league. 2 wins, 3 draws in their last 5. Plymouth are in 21st. 1 point outside the relegation zone. 3 defeats, 1 win, 1 draw in the last 5. You'd have to fancy Leeds there. Hull City against Portsmouth. Hull are in 15th. Only 1 win, 2 draws in their last 5. But Portsmouth are dead bottom of the league. 1 win, 1 draw, 3 defeats. Only 8 points so far. They really need to get their season kick-started immediately. QPR versus Sunderland. QPR likewise not made a particularly good start. Only 9 points, only 1 win. 3 defeats and 2 draws in their last 5. Whereas Sunderland are top of the league. Sunderland are 5 points clear at the top of the Championship. Only 2 defeats all season, 4 wins and a draw in their last 5. They're absolutely flying. They've got the best attack in the league, one of the better defences in the league, one of only 5 clubs still with single figures goals conceded. You would fancy Sunderland to go and win that game. Then it's Preston North End against Bristol City. 2 teams that are in the mid-table. Bristol in 11th, Preston in 16th. Preston are in slightly better form. 2 wins, 3 draws from their last 5. Bristol, 1 win, 4 draws. Only 2 points actually separating these teams at the moment. So should be a pretty good contest. Cardiff City against Norwich City. Cardiff are 20th. They're one of the informed teams in the league, though. 3 wins and 2 draws from their last 5. They are moving rapidly up the table, and they've gone from being bottom of the league and looking hopeless to all of a sudden only being 6 points behind Norwich, who sit in 8th. Norwich have only won 1 of their last 5, but they have not lost in their last 5. So this one should be a fairly good game. Sheffield Wednesday versus Watford. Wednesday have had a good start. They're in 13th. 2 wins, 2 draws, and a defeat in their last 5. Watford also made a good start. Then they had that kind of blip where they lost, I think, 4 out of 6 games. They've currently lost 3 of their last 5 with 2 wins. Middlesbrough against Coventry. This is what I'm looking forward to. Middlesbrough are in 9th. 2 wins, 2 defeats, and a draw. They'll be a bit disappointed with the season so far, I think, but not as disappointed as Coventry will be. Coventry sit in 18th. Now, there is only, again, 6 points between them. 2 wins, 2 defeats, and a draw also for Coventry. But Coventry had playoff ambitions, and to be sitting this far down the table, certainly not part of the plan. Borough are at least within striking distance of the playoff. They currently sit 1 point, and they're 2 goals worse off in the goal difference column from Blackburn. They could easily find themselves in the top 6 after this weekend. And then we have 1 game on Sunday, and that is going to be Millwall at home to Burnley. Millwall are 10th. A defeat, 2 draws, and 2 wins in their last 5. So they're in decent form, unbeaten in the last 4. Burnley, unbeaten in the last 5, but only 2 wins. They've allowed Sunderland to open up a bit of a gap. They'll want to get back to winning ways. Only 1 win in the last 4. So they'll want to catch up with Sunderland, rather, and not let them open up a big gap. Though the truth of it is, if they stay second, they're fine. So the gap they really need to concern themselves with is to Leeds. At the moment, it's 1 goal. That's it. They need to open a gap on Leeds. Even if Sunderland run away with it, because if you get second, you get automatic promotion, and you're happy out. And that's what we've got. There's some really good games there. I'm looking forward to a really good weekend of Championship football, brought to you by our good friends at Sky Bet, and I'll be back after this break with Guy Drinkle. See you in a sec. Right, welcome back. I'm joined always on a Friday by Guy Drinkle. How are you, sir?
Bit nippy. I've actually had to put the heating up a smidge.
Well, it is November now, so Christmas is closing in on us. I think it's, what are we, like just over 7 weeks or something away? About 7.5 weeks. We've got about 8.5 weeks then left in the year. And then it'll be goodbye 2024, hello 2025. This year is going too quickly, Guy, is the biggest issue here.
It is indeed. It is indeed, and I don't like it.
Right, we have games to get through. So, I'm looking at it, and it looks like a very exciting weekend in the Premier League this weekend.
It does indeed, and you start off quite nicely with the 12:30 kickoff as Arsenal travel up here to Newcastle. I say that like I'm from Newcastle, but to my neck of the woods, close enough. Usually you'd say this is a tough game, and I think it still is. But Newcastle, I know they won in the Cup midweek, but that was against Chelsea's, I'll say backup team, but it still costs like 500 million. But it's still not the first team. But where are Newcastle? 12th in the league, not won in at least 5. It might be longer than that with the form guide here, but it feels like Newcastle need a big result against a big opponent to spark their season because they're currently just fizzling through.
They very much are. Yeah, like Toon made a really good start with 4 wins and a draw in their first 5. And it's 3 defeats and 2 draws in the last 5, which obviously not good. And like you said, currently sitting 12th in the league. Arsenal sitting in 3rd in their last 5, 2 wins, 2 draws, and just the 1 defeat. Both teams have injury issues. The Gunners, no Tomiyasu, no Calafiori, no Kieran Tierney, no Martin Odegaard. Gabriel is a doubt, but expected to be okay. But Ben White also likely to miss out, which, creates its own problems. But Saliba is at least back at centre-back for them. The Toon, on the other hand, no Lascelles, no Botman, no Callum Wilson, no Trippier. Jacob Murphy is a doubt. Isak should be good to go, and Gordon should be good to go. Newcastle's hope here is to let Arsenal have the ball, bed in, and try and hit them on the counter. Now, that's all well and good because Arsenal are struggling a little bit right now to break teams down without Odegaard. But Newcastle don't really have the defence to do that. Like, they're not strong enough defensively this season. They've conceded 10 goals already, and they're not scoring enough goals, only 9 in the league this season.
I think they're the second most underperforming side in the league with XG, I think I heard this week.
Are they? So that's not a good sign for them. It's not a good sign at all. So, with the Toon, did I say they won 4? They won 3 of their first. I don't know. Doesn't really matter.
They played awfully in those wins anyway.
They haven't played well at all this season, was my bigger point. And the games they have won, they were quite lucky in. Arsenal have had some bad luck this season. Now, much of it is their own making with stupid decision-making by some of their players. If Arsenal get ahead here, I could see them winning by 3 or 4 goals. Because I think Arsenal are great on the counter. The issue is getting ahead. They will rely heavily on set pieces and Bukayo Saka. I'm going to go Arsenal to win, but I think they might have to do it from behind. I could see Newcastle scoring and then Arsenal coming back to win, and that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Arsenal win, where the Toons score first, and then just invite too much pressure, and Arsenal eventually break them down. A set piece and a Saka goal. We'll go 2-1 to the Arsenal.
Yeah, I think Arsenal should be heavily favoured for this. I think, was it last year, the Joelinton game, where everyone lost their mind, or was that 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago?
I think that was last year, wasn't it?
God, it feels like
last season. It does, doesn't it?
It was 1-0, wasn't it? Newcastle.
Yeah, it's where the ball went out on the sideline and then Joelinton fouled someone, if I remember correctly.
And Anthony Gordon tapped home. It was
something
last season. Yeah. It was actually this weekend last season as well.
Oh, God.
The first weekend in November last season.
Maybe the year's not going quick enough. That feels ages ago. Anyway, yeah, I mean, this kind of, not really a derby, but it's kind of getting a bit spicy in terms of it. But yeah, should be an interesting game. One that's historically not an interesting game is Bournemouth against Man City, Dave. I believe the most one-sided fixture in Premier League history. Probably not a better opportunity for Bournemouth. Man City only have about 4 fully fit players, according to Pep Guardiola. I know Bournemouth have a few injuries, but Bournemouth are in a good way this season. Surprised Arsenal last week, 2 weeks ago. Good win over Villa. Good draw with Villa, I should say. So they are performing against good sides, give Liverpool a difficult game. And now City is still favourite regardless regardless of injuries. But if Bournemouth are to right or finally beat Man City, it's probably a good opportunity to do so.
It is, especially at home. City are not playing well because they're missing so many players. Now, this weekend, obviously no Rodri, no Oscar Bob, no Kyle Walker, no Jack Grealish, no Jeremy Doku, no Kevin De Bruyne. Akanji's expected, I think, to be back. Guardiola is a doubt, though, and Savinho is out. So a lot of attacking talent out. For Bournemouth, no Kepa, no Sinistera, no Alex Scott, likely no Ouattara, but Billing is back. So that at least gives them an extra body in midfield. I don't know why, but I fancy Bournemouth to get something here. Like, they're playing well, as you highlighted. They beat Arsenal. They drew with Villa. Both really good results. City are missing so many important players. Like, if the Guardiola would be a huge blow. A huge, huge blow for them. He's been their best defender this year. So if he's out, you're looking at their best defender missing, the best midfielder missing, the best attacking midfielder missing, and 4 of their wing options missing, if you include Oscar Ball. So it is quite a bare bones situation for City. Do I have do you know what I do? I'm going to go 2-1 to Bournemouth. Bournemouth to beat Manchester City. That's what I'm going to go for here.
You got the Arsenal one, right?
To win.
You backed Bournemouth against Arsenal.
I did back Bournemouth against Arsenal, to be fair. I'm going to back them to beat City. I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1.
Yeah, it should. I think as long as it's an interesting game, that's just an improvement from Bournemouth. I obviously don't remember every Bournemouth against City's thing, but we all remember. It always felt like, remember when Sean Dyche was at Burnley, and every time it just be like, it's just going to win 4-0.
Yes, City would regularly just pump Burnley, by 4 and 5 goals.
Yeah,
this fixture felt that way with them and Bournemouth as well. And look, as Liverpool fans, we've kind of expected that as well on a lot of occasions, that we'd just go and we'd hammer them. They beat us a couple of times, but if you look at the results since they came up in the Premier League, City score first 5-1, 4-0. 4-0, 2-0, 2-1, 4-0, 3-1, 1-0, 3-1, 2-1, 2-1, 4-0, 4-1, 6-1, and 1-0. So Bournemouth haven't even taken a point. The last time these two teams played and it didn't end in a City victory was in 1999 when they met in what we now know as League One, and that ended 0-0. There's only been 2 games between the two clubs of the 21 that they've played that have ended in a draw. One was in 1989, one was in 1999. One was in what we now call the Championship, one is in what we now call League One. Fair to say their trajectories have been different since those games. I'm just going to back. All these things have to come to an end. I'm going to stick with Bournemouth to win.
Yeah, it's a brave shout, but I think it's an understandable one, considering the situation. Now, another interesting game for very much different reasons is Ipswich hosting Leicester. It's weird. Out of the promoted, maybe Southampton's the most toxic, but out of the promoted sides, it almost feels like Leicester's the most toxic because the fans clearly don't like Cooper, the Forest connection, etc. Whereas Ipswich, maybe rosy's the wrong word, but it's the word I'll go with. It all feels a bit rosy there. Maybe just happy being back in the Premier League. But I mean, Leicester have clearly had the best start out of the 3 sides, been competitive in most games, except really the Forest game last Friday, I should say. And the Cup game probably didn't help midweek. Whereas Ipswich were kind of competitive in every game. But I think since the last international break, they've had 3 losses on the bounce. Gave away some stupidly, like the The Brentford game was just amateur hour stuff.
The Brentford game, the West Ham game, just gifting goals left and right. You're right, though. Of the three teams, Leicester are doing the best, and yet it feels like their fans are the angriest. Southampton, there's like an acceptance of, we've come back up, we're going to go down, and we'll come back up again. Ipswich, you nailed it. They're just happy to be in the Premier League. It's been over 2 decades. They're just going to enjoy it. If they go down, that's grand. Nobody expected them to stay up. They've got no recent track record in the Premier League. It's a miracle that they're here. When McKenna took over, they were mid-table in League One 2.5 years ago. So they've just accepted that, look, we may go down, but we're going to enjoy it. Leicester, though, and I assume it's because they won a league title, less than a decade ago, which is mental to think of.
Yeah.
Well, their fans seem to have this sense of, well, we belong in the Premier League. We should just always be there, which you can kind of get, but not really, because only a couple of years before they won their league title, they were also in the Championship. And they've historically been a yo-yo club. They came up in the 90s, stayed up for a number of years and went down. And then they came back up again and they won a league title and then they went down again. It's just what they've been. The Cooper thing is odd. They really don't like him. I think he's a good manager. I did think at the time that Graham Potter was the obvious choice for them, but they made a decision not to go that direction. Leicester, no Storacek, no Daka, no Chowdhury. Christiansen should be at least fit for the bench, and Fatu is out. Ipswich have a lot of players out. No Ogbena, he's done for the season, torn Achilles, which is just horrible news, especially for a player that relies on pace. Chunzabi is out, Greaves is out, Taylor's out, Harry Clark is suspended. That's not really a loss. Luanga should be okay. Ben Johnson, they're hoping, is back. Hutchinson is fit. Sam Morsey is fit. Donacien that they bought in the summer, he is out. Ipswich have to win this game. This is must win for them now. This is match week 10. You haven't won yet. And you've lost 3 in a row. You're at home against a team that really shouldn't be any better than you because you were in the same division as them last season. You finished pretty close to them. It's not like they ran away with it. And you did a lot of work in the summer. You had a lot more cohesion as well because you kept the same manager, whereas they lost their manager and drastically changed how they played. I'm going to back Ipswich to win. I'm going to back them to win their first Premier League game in 24 years or whatever it will be. I'll go 3-1 to Ipswich. Leicester's defence has been awful the last 2 games. United should have scored 5, should have scored 7 or 8. Forest got 3, probably should have got 5 at least. So I'm going to back Ipswich to win 3-1.
Yeah, Leicester definitely need a centre-back. It's not pretty considering... I'm about to say this sentence. They're currently missing Vestergaard, which is not a good sign. But yeah, anyway. Where are we up to? Next, we have Liverpool hosting Brighton. We saw the reverse in midweek. Obviously, very much will be a changed side for both of them. I think both made 8 or 9 changes, didn't they? So we can't really learn too much from midweek. But Liverpool at home, I know they've had the one slip up this season at home. Brighton will bring in the Matomas and the like of that, so you'd imagine they'd be a lot more threatening towards Liverpool than they were midweek. But it's an interesting game, and I think Brighton in the league have been somewhat of a bogey team for Liverpool, but it might just not be a bogey team, it might be just they're a good team.
Yeah, I just think they're a good team. I think they're flat out just a good team. They've got a ridiculous amount of talent. If anyone listened to today's Daily Red or yesterday's AI Scouted, it went over their squad in depth. And my God, like the talent that they have, not just for now, but the next 5-6 years is on par with pretty much anybody in the division. Now, Liverpool, obviously, no Alisson, no Jota, no Chiesa, and no Harvey Elliott. But Brighton have a lot of injury issues. So, no Webster, no Milner, no João Pedro, unlikely to have Matty O'Reilly, unlikely to have Minta, maybe on the bench, but unlikely as starters. Dunk probably plays. I think that's actually a negative for them because he's been so poor. And if he's not fit, he's going to be exposed. Kadioglu should be okay, and Solly March is still out. Liverpool, obviously second in the league, going very well. Just the one defeat. A couple of good results recently against Chelsea and Arsenal, putting to bed a lot of they haven't played anyone nonsense. Brighton are good, though. Like, they are good, and they're sixth in the league. They've only lost once this season. And much of that defeat was of their own making because they just gifted Chelsea 3 goals. Now, Chelsea gave them back 2 in return, to be fair. But I do feel like Liverpool should win this game at home. And I'm going to back them to win 3-1.
Yeah, you'd expect it to be a fun game, maybe not for us, for the neutral at the very least. Last one before we go to break. Then Forest hosting West Ham, Dave. Forest, yeah, probably the most overperforming side in the league, and West Ham, apart from Man United, maybe say the worst performing. I suppose Palace are there, but West Ham had such a impressive summer on paper. At least you could argue it's them over Palace. Maybe not Man United, but they've just been awful. But anyway, yeah, an interesting game here. But can Chris Wood beat Erling Haaland in the Golden Boot? That's the question I'll ask you.
That is the big question that everybody's asking right now. These two giant target men leading the... Well, Brian Mbomo is actually sandwiched in between them, but he's heavily reliant on goals in the first minute and penalties. Forest just, they've been really good. Like, as you said, they're overperforming. This is not the level of Nottingham Forest, but they are playing well. And they fully deserve to be where they are right now. The second best defensive record in the league. Now, they don't score enough goals. They've only got 11 so far. But they haven't needed to. When you only concede 7, 11 is more than enough. 4 wins, 4 draws, and one defeat is a really good return for Forest. West Ham, obviously, great win last weekend. Fortunate win. Like, let's be honest. Fortunate win over United. Not really sure that was a penalty. But I think it's worked out for everybody. And I highlighted this on Wednesday's Daily Red, or Wednesday's Two-Footed. United lost, but they won because they sacked a manager who simply wasn't up to the task, and they've made the best possible hire to replace him. I think Forest continue their strong start here. They're at home. I think they're in a pretty good position. They've got a couple of injuries, no question. Obviously, they've been missing Danilo since the opening day when he got hurt. They've been missing Ibrahim Sangaré, which is a big blow because he's a very good player. They've also been missing, remember, Morgan Gibbs-White, who's their best player. And yet they've overcome that. And they've gotten good results because Elliot Anderson has stepped up and Ryan Yates has stepped up. And the defence is performing really well. And I think if you were crowning a signing of the season right now, Nikola Milinkovic would have to be, if not number 1, he's 1A. Onana at Villa is the only other one I'd put in that conversation.
For the price
this weekend,
you'd say savage by
13 million.
Yeah.
Absolute bargain. I remember teams getting 25, 30 million bids turned down for him. Forest did great work here.
He was linked to West Ham for about 7 years.
He was linked with West Ham. He was linked with United. He was linked with us briefly. He's a really good player. So West Ham, no Fulkrug. He's been out most of the season or all of the season. They can't really say it's a blow, though, because they haven't had him. Kudus being out, though, is a blow. He's out suspended. He's been up and down for them, but he still carries a big threat. I'm just going to back Forest to win here. I'll go 1-0. I'll leave it at that with that game. We'll go to break. We'll come back. We'll run through the next 5. So we'll be back after this. Right, welcome back. So we're 5 games down, 5 to go. Guy, what's next?
What's next is Southampton against Everton, Dave. Again, another opportunity for Southampton, but I believe Everton do have a good record against promoted sides, or certainly sides sat in the relegation zone when they play them. You could probably say similar to what we said about Ipswich earlier on. If Southampton don't win this, are they ever going to win a game?
Yeah, it is getting to that point. The only thing Southampton really have to cheer about right now is Tyler Dibbling, who's a star in the making. Everything else is going badly for them. They've been... they've put up some decent performances. They played okay against City last time out, but ultimately they still lost and could easily have lost by a couple more, but City missed some big chances. Ramsdale made a couple of good saves. We go into this one. Everton have no Eric Boonham, no Garner. They're both out for over the next month. No Chermedi, no Brogia. They're hopefully back after the international break. Dwight McNeil is a doubt, which is massive because he's been easily Everton's best player. But Doucouré should be good, and he's important to them as well. For Southampton, obviously no Basunu, no Ross Stewart, no Will Smallbone. They do get Ryan Fraser back, but Finn Downs and Ryan Manning are both suffering with an illness, so we'll see. Southampton are home, and as you said, they have to win this one, but I just don't fancy them. I really don't. I'm going to go 1-1. I hope Southampton win this game. Nothing to do with Everton. I just want to see them win a game before it becomes one of these situations where you're 15 or 16 games into the season and you still haven't won. And at that point, everything is gone. All hope of staying up is gone. And it just becomes a very depressing kind of vibe around the club. So I'll go 1-1.
Yeah, you'd hope so for Southampton's sake. They can at least grab a point, as you mentioned. 5:30 kickoff then on the Saturday. We have Wolves hosting Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace got rid of their 0 last weekend against Tottenham in the most Tottenham thing you've ever seen. Wolves, another side looking to get rid of their 0 in the win column. Got a draw last weekend. That was probably, again, more to do with Brighton than Wolves. I know Wolves had some good opportunities in that game, but if Brighton have a 4v1 at the end of the game, again, I can't see them bottling it that much. But, yeah, it feels like a good opportunity for both sides. Palace, if they win, if Ipswich don't win, they pull a big gap to the bottom 3 already. And if Wolves win, they'll, just get that bloody win.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. If Palace win, they could potentially jump to 15th. And then, you start looking at what's above you rather than what's below you. It's not just the win last weekend for Palace. It's also a good win in midweek in the Cup over Villa. So back-to-back beating Spurs and beating Villa. And I know Villa had, rotation, but Villa's still a top 4 team in this league. So it's a good win. It's a good confidence-boosting win. Heading into this one, Wolves have no Mosquera, no Gonzalez, no Kalasic, no Boubacar Traore, no Wang. Sam Johnston is good to go. Mario Lemina looks good to go. Mepiu is out, but he's on his way back. So still some issues for them, obviously all over the pitch, but key players are available there, especially Lemina, who's been really good for them this season, surrounded by a team that's not playing well. For Palace, they've got their own problems. No França, no Chadi Riyad, no Adam Wharton, which is a big blow. No Eze, which is a huge blow. No Jefferson Lerma, which is a blow. No Joel Ward, no Chris Richards, but Czech Doucouré is back. Now, whether he's ready to start or not, I don't know, but at least he's back. And with Wharton out and Lerma out, he might actually just be forced into starting. No Rob Holding either, but he wouldn't be playing. A lot of players. And no Eze is big. No Wharton is big. It's going to be physical battle in midfield. Wolves will make it that. Wolves are at home. Again, as with others, I just feel like they're going to win eventually. So I'm actually going to back Wolves to win this one. I'll go 2-1. I think it'll be scrappy enough. I'll go 2-1 to Wolves.
Yeah, if it's a midfield of, say, Hughes and Daichi Kamada, I can't really see.
That's problematic. You know, up against Lamina, João Gomes, Andre. Yeah, that's where I can see them having the advantage. And without Eze as a creative force, I don't know, especially if Kamada has to play in the midfield. Like, is it going to be Sarr and Nketiah behind Mateta? I don't like that as a front three. Yeah, I'm going to go Wolves to win 2-1.
Yeah, moving on to Sunday then. First up, we have Spurs hosting Villa. Fair to say Spurs season, where are they? 8th in the league. I'd say it's quite disappointing at this stage. I know there was so much promise with the young players they've signed in the summer, but now it's just like, you got the players you want. I know some of them are young and not really ready, but you're just doing stupid Spurs things where really they should easily be challenging for top 4. Now, they're only 5 points behind, but they're sat in 8th. That's a lot of teams ahead of them already.
It is, and it's a 5-point gap to Villa. Now, they may get lucky this year. We might get 5 Premier League teams that get in, and maybe they get in that route. But from a league point of view, it's definitely been disappointing. Now, overall, they're going well in the League Cup. They're flying in the Europa League. Overall, they're probably pointing to a lot of positivity. As you said, it's a lot of young players there. They've really invested in the future. Now, a concern I have going into this game is there's no Mickey van de Ven, and Christian Romero is a doubt.
Ooh.
So you've got Dragazin and who?
Benjamin Davies, let's go.
That's the concern. He's not good enough to play in the Premier League. They've also got no Odegaard. But Son should be back, which is big. No Jed Spence, but he's the backup right back. Timo Werner, they're hopeful, will be ready. Now, Romero might be okay, but it's a significant doubt, so we'll see. For Villa, Ross Barkley's the only one out. They've got Boubacar Kamara back. They've got Mings back, though he's a squad player. Villa are fully formed. And I think that gives them a significant advantage. Now, obviously, the game is in Tottenham, so home crowd will give Spurs a lift. But I'm going to back Villa here.
Yeah, they rested quite a lot in midweek, didn't they?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm going to back Villa to go there and win. I'm going to say it'll be a fun game, though. I'm going to go 3-2 to Villa.
That'd put them 8 points ahead of Tottenham. I know it's very early, but would that be Tottenham out of the top 4 race?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. Especially if Arsenal also win. So now you're 8 points, an 8-point gap, which is sizable at this point of the season. And like I say, their best chance might be if there's 5 Premier League teams in the Champions League. But if Chelsea win this weekend as well, it could be they'd be 7 points behind them. And then you're
Europa League go bust.
Yeah. Yeah, win the Europa League or you're not going to be in. And look, the bottom line of it with Spurs is, if they finish 6th and win the League Cup, that's a great season, because it's been so long since they won anything.
They finish 17th and get a cup.
This is exactly the thing. If they can win something, that matters more, because ultimately, football is about winning things. not about the taking part. And I hate this mindset of just getting into the Champions League. It wrecks my head. Get in and just take part is meaningless. You're in it to win it. Simple as that. If you don't win it, you failed. It's why it winds me up when Liverpool fans waffle about getting to 3 Champions League finals. We won 1. It winds me up that people talk about Liverpool finishing second twice. We won 1 league title. Under Jurgen Klopp, we won 1 Champions League and 1 league title. And that did not satisfy me for the team that we had. It's about winning trophies. And for a club like Spurs, who've won nothing in a long time, a League Cup means more than finishing 4th. But for the fan base and for the mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Moving on. Oh, no, there's a Monday game. I was going to say last game. Man United hosting Chelsea, Dave. Man United's obviously managerial situation is now sorted, but we know it'll be Ruud van Nistelrooy for the couple of weeks left. Chelsea, again, every time we just say it, we take it week to week. Logically, Chelsea should win this, but we don't really know with either side now. But Chelsea is certainly more steady.
For sure. Chelsea are in a much better place at the moment. Sancho obviously can't play. Omari Kellyman is out. He wouldn't be playing anyway. So, for all intents and purposes, Chelsea are fully fit at the moment, which is a drastic change from the calamity we saw with them last season, where every single week I was having to take a big old deep breath before launching into their injury issues. Manchester United, up unfortunately for them, cannot say the same. No Kobbie Mainoo, no Lenny Yoro, no Harry Maguire, no Luke Shaw, no Terrell Malacia, no Mason Mount, and no Anthony, but I mean, nobody cares. I wonder if Ruud might go back 3. That's my big curiosity with this game. Will Ruud, knowing who's coming in, having publicly said he wants to stay and be part of the staff, will Ruud go with a back 3? And if he does, I think it could be very fascinating. Chelsea definitely have the attacking talent to hurt United, but likewise, United have some players that can really hurt Chelsea going the other way. I see goals in this game. I do think Chelsea will win because they're just in better form. And the new manager's not in the door yet and won't be for the next 3 games. Ruud will take the next 3. But I think this is just more a continuation of the Ten Hag era than the beginning of the Amorim era. So I'm going to say Ruud just runs with what they've been doing and they lose 3-2. 3-2 to Chelsea is the pick. I think Sunday's going to be fun. I think they'll both be... They're big games. I think they'll be good games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 2 good games to watch there. Maybe not this next one. Fulham hosting Brentford in the Conservative derby. Let's go with
the Tory derby.
Yeah. I'm a bit harsh on Brentford. I don't know Brentford.
I don't know Brentford, actually, either.
No. Let's not go there. But Fulham... I think we mentioned it last week, have kind of reverted back to mean and in their beloved spot of 10th. Brentford are actually above them now, I didn't realise that. But Brentford, mad game against Ipswich. But Brentford, they obviously lost their superstar in Ivan Toney in the summer. Basically lost him 18 months ago, let's be honest. But another one is forming in Brian Mbeumo, who's obviously always been a talent, but he's got that kind of feel about him where you don't want to be taking players off Brentford, but he does look like a Champions League or certainly Europa League ready player.
He definitely does. He definitely does. And he's playing with that kind of confidence and swagger as well. 8 goals already this season in the Premier League. And he's showing, the whole skill set, the creativity, the pace, the dribbling. He's very, very good. We'll call this one the Carol Matchett Derby because this is Matchett's part of the world there in West London where he lives, the hedonistic lifestyle of a national journalist. Fulham have no Sasa Lukic, but Timothy Castagne, Joachim Anderson, and Andreas Pereira are good to go. Cuenca's back, and the hopeful Carlos Vinicius can make the bench. Fulham are doing what Fulham do, as you said. They're in their happy place of bang in the middle of the table. Brentford are outperforming expectations without question. Still no Igor Thiago. Josh De Silva's out. Still no Rico Henry. They're hopeful Rico Henry's back after the international break, though, which is big. Ayer should be okay. Still no Aaron Hickey. Still no Gustavo Nunes. It's at Fulham, but I mean, does it really matter in a game like this where it's such a close proximity? Fulham don't exactly have the most ferocious crowd in the league. You know, it's a nice place to go and watch a game of football. They've got great fans, don't get me wrong, but they're not, like when you go to Palace, it's a bit intimidating because they make it a bit intimidating.
It's not exactly the Den, is it?
It's not the Den. No, it's not the Den. It's whatever end, on a spectrum where the Den is at one end, Fulham is at the other. It's a welcoming, hospitable place. It's a lovely ground to go to. And if you are in London and have the opportunity to go, I highly recommend it. And by all accounts, the Brentford Community Stadium is great to go to as well. Maybe Brentford are more of a Labour type of club. The stadium's the community stadium. They've been a grassroots movement. They've worked their way up slowly through the divisions, doing things the right way, whereas Fulham have been owned by billionaires since the late 90s and did once have a statue of Michael Jackson outside. Maybe this is Labour versus the Tories rather than two banks of Tories. I'm not sure. But we'll call it the Carroll match at Derby. I just see a draw in this one. It just seems like two mid-table teams who'll cancel each other out. I'll go with a 1-1.
And that's all that's good.
And that's it. That's us for the week. We will be back on Monday. Take care of yourselves. Thank you to Guy. Thanks for listening. See you soon. Bye-bye. Right, this show was brought to you by Sky Bet, as you heard at the start of today's show. We want to thank them for their continued support. And as always, to get involved with Sky Bet, you need to be over 18. And if you have questions or queries or problems with gambling, visit begambleaware.org and stay safe. Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.